Revolver Ocelot.
Can you hear the screams? They cry for battle. Let me hear you scream! Howl! Roar!
As a person who is drawn to the weird, the strange, and the creepy aspects of games, I'm inclined to like Screaming Mantis. I know I said I liked Laughing Octopus more in a previous video, but that's because I like her more as a character, and I like Screaming Mantis more as a boss fight, who in my opinion seems the most threatening of the B&B core. At first it may seem like a rehash of the Psycho Mantis fight from the first game, but is actually much more challenging and involves using a rather unique way to win. When the fight begins, Mantis tries to mess with you and incorporates various tricks in order to do so. Like the original fight, she will control Meryl and give you the classic mind reading and blackout tricks like before. However, here she has a new attack called Reset. By doing this, Mantis will make it appear that the game has crashed and reset itself to the title screen. However, if you play games like Arkham Asylum, you can probably figure out what you have to do. Due to Mantis' mind control, you notice that you cannot shoot her initially, and this is due to the two dolls she holds. The Mantis doll, held in her right hand, can control the living, and the Sorrow doll, held in her left hand, can control the dead. With these, she can not only control both you and Meryl, but also the dead bodies of the frog soldiers you just spent ages killing. You've probably guessed by now that you have to shoot the Mantis doll in order to win, yet you have a problem. If Screaming Mantis prevents you from pointing a gun straight at her, how do you shoot the dolls? The answer? Use the rinse to store your psych and break free of Mantis' control. However, this has to be the only downside to the fight, seeing as it's hard to figure out exactly what it is you have to do. I mean, I did it, but that was purely by accident, seeing as my psych meter was practically empty before the fight. Anyways, when you're trying to shoot the dolls, my advice is to knock out Meryl and shoot the Sorrow doll first, in order to make the task a bit easier. Personally, when trying to shoot the dolls, always use a non-lethal weapon to ensure that you don't kill Meryl by mistake when Mantis is close, or use a high caliber or very accurate sniper rifle when she is far away, preferably either the SVD or M82A2 for lethal runs, or the Mosin Nagant if you want to go non-lethal. Once you've shot the Mantis doll, you can then completely turn the tables on Screaming Mantis by using her own powers against her. But the best is yet to come. Seeing as once Mantis is defeated, surprise surprise, our old friend Psycho Mantis shows up to read your mind, but fails due to the updated hardware of the PS3. Who writes this? Give a medal please. But then, something even weirder happens. The Sorrow shows up, and then uses his powers to, well, I guess, destroy Psycho Mantis' ghost. In short, Screaming Mantis is a fairly challenging and unique boss, and that ending alone makes her deserving of the number 10 spot.
Revolver Ocelot.
If there's one concept I really like in films, video games, and other media, it's the fight against two former friends. These can lead to some pretty emotional and climactic battles, with some of the best examples being Obi-Wan vs Anakin in Star Wars Episode 3, Optimus vs Sentinel in Transformers Dark of the Moon, Chris Redfield vs Jill Valentine in Resident Evil 5, Dante vs Virgil in Devil May Cry 3, and of course, our number 9 entry, the cyborg ninja, Gray Fox. Before I talk about this, let me get one thing straight. I will not tolerate any bitching in the comments about how I spell the word grey. I know his name is spelled the American way, but I'm British, so I'll spell it with an E if I goddamn want to. This fight plays out a little differently to some of the other fights in the game. Like the final battle with Liquid Snake, it's technically a fist fight, as Gray Fox will block any shot you fire at him with his sword. How? Because he's a ninja, that's why. Because of this, the fight is fairly evenly matched, with both having an advantage over the other. Gray Fox can use exoskeletons to cloak, generate magnetic fields, whereas Snake can use his hand-to-hand skills to trap Gray Fox and deal a lot of damage fairly quickly, allowing for balance, and as we've seen, I like this in a boss fight. Remember how I said that you also like a fight between two friends? Well, you're not exactly told who Gray Fox is until after the fight, even his life bar listed as Ninja. Once Snake finds out just who his opponent was, there is suddenly a ton of mood whiplash, and Snake feels terrible in having just fighting and almost killing his best friend. Gray Fox later returns during the final battle against Liquid and explains to Snake what exactly happened to him and that he was proud to face him one last time before he died. Gray Fox then proceeds to hold off the Metal Gear Rex, and then due to Snake's unwillingness to fire on his friend, he is properly, for want of a better word, squished by Rex. If Gray Fox had all that emotion and story behind him, then why is he only number 9? Well, the problem is that I found the fight to be too easy and too short, and it seems to unfortunately favour story over gameplay, kinda like Mass Effect. I understand that the developers couldn't do all that much due to the limitations of the PS1 system, but I honestly want a bit more from a fight with a cyborg ninja.
Revolver Ocelot.
Time for one of the most disturbing bosses in the entire franchise, and Metal Gear Solid 3's personal ghost, the Sorrow. The fight against the Sorrow could technically not be called a boss fight at all, seeing as all you do for the entire fight is wade through a river, while never dealing any damage to him. Heck, his life and stamina bars are empty, meaning that he is already dead. Anyways, after falling down a waterfall after escaping from Groznygrad, Naked Snake awakens in a mysterious river whose banks are on fire. You then meet the Sorrow, who proceeds to give you a quick speech about the sadness of death, and then the fight begins. What happens is that the Sorrow will not attack you for the most part, and will instead summon the spirits of every person you have killed in the game up until this point. This is unique because this means that the fight will change every time you play through it. If you go through the game only killing bosses, you'll be fine, and the fight will only take a couple of minutes. Or if you are like me and go all Terminator on your enemies with a shotgun, you're going to be here for quite a while. As the Sorrow is already dead, you can't do any damage to him, yet he can damage you if you get hit by one of his attacks, or touch any of the ghosts in the arena, including him. The only attack the Sorrow will use is the strange energy vortex which he will fire at you. If it hits you, well... Jesus! As if this fight wasn't creepy enough, the Sorrow's movements look almost agonizing to watch, seeing as it looks like he's dislocating every joint at once. Even the music helps to add to the atmosphere of the fight, seeing as it appears made up of dreary moans and wails, which sounds like it's being made by the spirits of the dead. This fight also has one of the biggest fake-outs of the series. At the end of the fight, the Sorrow turns into a skeleton, and touching this makes it appear that Snake has died. Upon using the revival pill, Snake awakens having floated downstream. This probably means that Snake himself was technically dead for the entire fight, which leads to both Snake and the player questioning whether his fight with the Sorrow actually happened, or if it was just a hallucination. There you have it, the Sorrow. He's disturbing, unique, and unexplained, and we all love him for it.
Revolver Ocelot.
Hey! It's not over yet! There is no escape!
Well, shit. Remember our old friend Colonel Volgin? Well, after the fight we leave him in the hangar of the Shagohod, which is basically a tank capable of firing nuclear missiles from any terrain, and we then proceed to blow up the hangar with C3. However, it turns out Volgin's not quite dead yet, and he decides to get his revenge. How does he do that? He activates the Shagohod and attempts to crush you with it, resulting in one of the most climactic fights the series has to offer. This fight is also the longest in the series, even beating Liquid Ocelot's 4 stages of epic, and serves as a true test of your skill at Metal Gear Solid 3. When the fight starts, the feeling of hopelessness is forced on you fairly quickly, seeing as none of your weapons can deal any damage to him, regardless of where you aim, so your only option is to run. This stage is basically a motorcycle chase. Eva focuses on driving the bike all around the gigantic base of Groznygrad, while you mow down hundreds of helpless goons who get in your way. This stage then culminates in a high-speed mad dash down a runway, with you picking off enemies on motorcycles, while the Shagohod tries to run you down by using the jet boosters on each side of it. Afterwards, you then have to lower the Shagohod onto a bridge rigged with C3 explosive, which you have to set off using a sniper rifle. This can be quite tricky, seeing as the explosives are a relatively small target to hit, but they shouldn't cause too much of a problem if you're good at sniping. Once the explosives are set off, the bridge is destroyed, and you think the Shagohod is too, until Volgin fires up the jet engines and proceeds to make the mother of all jumps to safety. I don't really think I need to explain that too much. It's in my intro, for Christ's sake. Finally, the next phase of the fight begins, and now you can finally deal some damage to this mechanical monstrosity. Basically, all you need to do is use the RPGs to blast the treads. Wait, are those treads? They look more like screws. Anyways, use the RPG to blast each of the treads to stop the Shagohod from moving, and then blast the hell out of the damaged section in the back with the RPG. Rinse, repeat, and you're done with that phase. This phase of the fight may not all be that challenging, but the boy is it satisfying. And all the time while fighting it, the music track called Taking on the Shagohod is playing in the background, which just adds to the satisfying feeling. Just when you think you've destroyed it, Volgin climbs out of the hatch at the top and uses electrical powers to reactivate it. Jeez, Volgin, give up already! Anyways, the final phase of the fight is fought on foot, and follows a similar strategy, except here you have to shoot Volgin after damaging the treads. The best strategy here would to be use one of the machine guns started around the arena to attack Volgin. Just be able to avoid the Shagohod's charge attack as soon as it regains mobility. After you empty the Shagohod's health bar for the final time, you get one of the most satisfying and most ironic deaths in the series, as Volgin is fried by a bolt of lightning, which causes all the bullet casings lining his body to explode. But the Shagohod isn't number 7 because of this, or the satisfaction you get when fighting it, or even the great gameplay. It's number 7 because it tests your skill with everything which is called a Snake Eater's gameplay. Aiming and shooting while under heavy fire, dodging enemy attacks, sniping hard to reach targets, exploiting enemy weaknesses, even your knowledge of using the environment and weapons to their best potential. That's why it's number 7.
Revolver Ocelot.
Well, I'm going to send you a love letter, my dear. Do you know what that is? It's a bullet straight from my gun to your heart.
The video game world is filled with hundreds of great sniper duels, and Sniper Wolf is no exception. Out of all the members of Foxhound, she has one of the best backstories out of all of them. She was a Kurdish sharpshooter who was born and raised in the middle of a violent conflict between Kurdish freedom fighters and the regime of Saddam Hussein. Every day she and her family were hunted, and she always had to move from shelter to stay alive. Every time she woke up, she would find one of her family or friends lying dead beside her. Due to the international community doing nothing to stop the fighting, she grew to hate the political world, and after witnessing her friends and family being gassed, she was raided by Gurkhas who taught her everything they knew about sniping, which is how she became to join Foxhound in 2005. And boy do those sniping techniques show. Sniper Wolf can snipe you from almost anywhere in the snowfield, and due to the blizzard, you are almost blind. It comes down to a situation of who blinks first, as one wrong movement by either yourself or Wolf will either result in you dishing out a fair bit of damage, or Wolf blasting you back across a snowfield by her insanely powerful rifle. You also get to fight her a little earlier on to get a taste of what she can do, but nobody really cares about that one. Anyways, as I mentioned before, the fight against her is a sniper duel, which in the later stages can become pretty challenging when you try to work out exactly what Wolf is in the snowfield. It's still a fairly fun fight, which I find is more suited to the stealth aspect of the series than some of the other fights on this list. That's another point for those developers. Putting stealth in a boss fight is fairly difficult to pull off, but as we've already seen 3 great examples of this. But what really seals the fight's place at number 6 is the ending. Sniper Wolf was a very admirable character throughout the whole game, and watching her die in the snowfield can be quite moving. Even for the graphical limitations of the PS1 system, as Wolf explains her story and her true feelings towards her involvement in the Quit's plan, after which Snake delivers the final blow. This whole scene is really emotional and powerful, and the music which plays, known as the best is yet to come, really adds to that feeling. You know what? Screw Rundas. Why did we have to kill Wolf? I would have liked this fight to do a little bit more of the gameplay, however.
Revolver Ocelot.
Hell to the yes! Talk about fan service. Ever since the reveal of Metal Gear Ray, and seeing as it was designed to be able to defeat Rex, fans have been wondering just exactly which Metal Gear would win in a fight. In Metal Gear Solid 4, we got our answer, and the fight was just amazing. After an incredible escape scene where Snake pilots the Metal Gear Rex in order to escape Shadow Moses Island of all places, Liquid shows up, piloting the same Ray that he stole back in MGS2. Then the fight that fans have been waiting for finally happens. Rex is equipped with everything it had in MGS1, including Gatling guns, rocket launchers, and even a laser cannon. You can even dash in close and go all melee on Ray if you want to. Meanwhile, Ray will be bringing the pain on you with its own rocket launchers, charge attacks, and even The environment in this fight is also just perfect for a fight between 2 giant machines, and is also 100% destructible, meaning that lots of things explode. And as we've seen, I like explosions. That destructible environment also means that you can just plow your way through any obstacles to get to Ray, instead of having to go all the way around. Yet this also means that Ray can do the exact same thing, meaning its attacks can come from almost anywhere. The fight also plays out like a cross between Transformers and Gundam, where the best strategy to use is to simply go all out on your opponent using whatever weapons you want, and then performing the occasional action command when Ray is stunned, or tries to launch a counterattack. It may be one of the most simplest fights in the game, but my god is it satisfying, and I for one am happy that the developers didn't go down the same route used for fights against other Metal Gears. We could have got something really subpar, yet we didn't. We got what fans have been asking for years, which turned out to be one of the most well-designed and best controlled fights I've ever experienced in a video game. But the best part is that there are still 4 more entries left to go.
Revolver Ocelot.
I beg of you, grant me the strength to take this final prey.
Remember when I said that Sniper Wolf was one of the best sniper duels in the whole series? Well, the End has Wolf beat hands down. In terms of design, the End has one of the most unique concepts out of all the bosses in Snake Eater, second only to the Pain. The End was born sometime in the 1860s and is a veteran of countless wars, eventually becoming known as the world's greatest sniper, and it's said that all modern sniping techniques originated from him. He never requires a spotter and is said to remain in one spot without moving for weeks. The End is the only boss in the series that can't exactly kill you, seeing as his weapon is the Mosin Nagant sniper rifle modified to fire tranquilizer rounds, and uses stun grenades whenever you get too close to him. Unlike most of the fights in the series, there is no music, with the only thing you'll hear in the background being the sounds of nature. You may be wondering what is the best way to go about fighting him, and the answer is, there isn't one. There is not one tried and true way to defeat him. Every single one of your tools and weapons are at your disposal here. Some have said that the other fights in the series incorporate this as well, but I feel that it's done to its full potential here. You can grab your own rifle and try to outsnipe him. You can try and track his movements using thermal goggles. Try and sneak up behind him. Track him using his gun muzzle flash and your binoculars. You can even try more unusual ways, such as capturing his parrot and then releasing it so it will fly back to him. Or track his breathing using the directional microphone. You even get the chance to kill him before you actually fight him, if he gave you some trouble on an earlier playthrough. But seriously, who does that? I can't see why people would do that. You're missing out on one of the best boss fights in the series. However, there is one strategy that will never work. If you try and charge for it and flush him out into the open, the End will fill you full of track rounds, throw a flashbang, and then run away to fly in a new sniping position. One thing I forgot to mention, if you take too long to complete this boss by, let's say, more than a week or so, the End will die of old age. But again, you really shouldn't take that long. If you do, maybe it's time to start improving your sniping.
Revolver Ocelot.
No, there's no need for words, Snake. I am Psycho Mantis.
Only number 3? How dare you! Even if you've never played a Metal Gear Solid game before, or if the series is one of your all-time favourites, you're sure to have heard of the infamy that is Psycho Mantis. I mean, why shouldn't you? He changed the way games immerse the player into the world by utter devastation of the Fourth Wall. How does he do this? Well, as we all know, the Fourth Wall is a fragile thing, what with characters like Deadpool. But Psycho Mantis shows how utterly flimsy and pathetic said concept is. He reads your memory card, tells you how many times you've saved the game, what game data is stored on there. He manages to remotely turn on the vibration feature on your controller, and he will read any and all controller inputs you make while fighting him. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. He can pick up and throw objects at you, launch Psychic Blast, possesses Meryl and has her fight you. Later he tries to make Meryl kill herself, and in the remake, he makes pictures behind him laugh at you. As he can read any control input you make, and because of this will dodge any attack you use, you're probably wondering how the hell you beat him. The answer is one of the most unique and strangest ways to defeat a boss ever conceived. You switch your controller to controller port 2. This strange method somehow stops Mantis from reading your mind, but if you somehow can't use the other control ports, you can also destroy the bus of Mantis' head lining the walls of the room when you fight him to get the same result. Once you've done that, the fight becomes relatively easy. Just dodge his attacks and shoot him and knocking Meryl out with stun grenades when you need to. But this fight is so high on the list for a lot of reasons. Remember the other strange and disturbing bosses in the series? The Sorrow, Fat Man, Vamp, Laughing Octopus, Screaming Mantis. Well, Psycho Mantis is the sole reason why they exist. His infamy gave the series its insanity, and because of that, the Metal Gear Solid series has become what it is known for today. Psycho Mantis completely changed the way that we see interaction between the game and the player. He changed how games immerse those who play them, and he completely changed the direction the Metal Gear Solid series took, and is why the series is renowned for its fourth wall breakers, random moments, unique bosses, and other insane points in the series. Simply put, he gave Metal Gear its insanity. One last thing, Psycho Mantis isn't all that disturbing to me. I can see why some people do find it disturbing and creepy, but I also find it to be a unique concept and admittedly sort of cool in a way.
Revolver Ocelot.
do I even start? The boss is Naked Snake's mentor and the leader of the Cobra unit, and is considered to be one of the greatest soldiers ever lived, and at the beginning of Snake Eater, she apparently defects to the Soviet Union and gives Colonel Volgin access to 2 man-portable nuclear missiles. After Volgin nukes a Russian weapons facility, Snake is charged with clearing the US's name, which involves destroying the Shagohod, rescuing Sokolov, and killing the boss. Throughout Snake Eater, more and more plot details are revealed. Snake becomes stronger and more determined, and it all leads up to a fantastic final confrontation. As the boss is Snake's mentor, and someone who Snake holds a great deal of respect for, the fight has tons of emotional impact, and you shouldn't be something you'll enjoy doing. Yet because of how the fight plays out and how it controls, you find yourself enjoying it all the same. I can't help but draw comparisons with the fight against Phalanx from Shadow of the Colossus, seeing as how both are considered to be the most enjoyable fights from their respective games, yet you'll feel terrible for doing so. As the boss is one of the greatest soldiers who ever lived, this fight is naturally not going to be easy. The boss is armed with a Patriot, which is a powerful submachine gun with infinite ammo, and can also perform some fairly powerful CQC moves on you. However, the fight unfortunately has some glaring flaws. It can be very hard to see the boss and what direction she will attack from. It can be very hard to block or damage the boss using CQC due to how awkward the control scheme is, and you have to fight her to a time limit, and we all know how much fun those are. However, these can be easily overlooked due to how well done the rest of the fight is. The boss may be hard to see due to how well camouflaged he is against the background, yet this is supposed to add to the challenge, and you can use the various camo uniforms you have on you to achieve a similar effect. Like the fight against the End, no music plays in this fight, but where the Ends required you to listen to the world around you, in this fight, music would just take away from the emotional atmosphere, until the song Snake Eater starts playing 5 minutes in, at which the point the emotion in this fight is quadrupled. After defeating the boss, she then hands Snake a microfilm containing the Philosopher's Legacy, which is basically a ton of cash, and instructs Snake to carry on a dream, after which Snake delivers the final blow. What makes this unique is that it doesn't happen in a cutscene. In order to increase the impact of this scene, the developers decided to make it so you, the player, have to deliver the final blow. Finally, in the ending scene of the game, the truth about the boss is finally revealed. She wasn't a traitor. She was in fact assigned to gain Volgin's trust and obtain the Philosopher's Legacy. However, due to Volgin firing that nuke, the CIA were tasked with clearing America's name, and therefore had to sacrifice the boss, the one person they respected most of all. All of this lands this heavily emotional fight at the number 2 spot. The question now is, what could possibly beat her? Before we get to number 1, let's have a good old recap. Number 32, Vamp. Number 31, Solid as Snake. Number 30, Fortune. Number 29, Volgin. Number 28, The Tank. Number 27,
The Fear!
Number 26, The Pain. Number 25, Olga. Number 24, Liquid's new toy. Number 23, Revolver Ocelot. Number 22, The Harrier. Number 21, The Heavy's Inuit Brother. Number 20, Major Ocelot. Number 19, Crying Wolf. Number 18, Metal Gear Rex. Number 17, him again. Number 16, Raging Raven. Number 15, Liquid Snake. Number 14, wait, I have to fight how many? Number 13, Laughing Octopus. Number 12, Fat Man. Number 11, Anger Issues Dude. Number 10, Screaming Mantis. Number 9, Grey Fox. Number 8, The Sorrow. Number 7, Just Die Already. Number 6, Sniper Wolf. Number 5, so many explosions. Number 4, The End. Number 3, Psycho Mantis. And number 2, The Boss.
Revolver Ocelot.
You should have seen this coming from a mile away.
Liquid!
Yes, by process of elimination, you have undoubtedly guessed that my favourite Metal Gear Solid boss is the final boss of Metal Gear Solid 4, and the final boss in the entire series, Liquid Ocelot. And how could I not? This fight is one of the best conclusions to a game series I have ever seen, and is one of my all-time favourite final bosses in the video game ever. It has the perfect setting. It wraps up the story of MGS4, seeing as the AIGW has been destroyed, Liquid's plan to take over the Patriot system has been foiled, seeing as the Patriots are destroyed, so all Snake has to do now is to have one final showdown with the man behind it all. After Liquid explains his true motives, and after at least 3 minutes of cutscene fighting, where Snake proves that he's still a badass, the actual fight finally begins. The fight has 4 phases representing each main series Metal Gear Solid game, and in each phase, Ocelot will fight differently. The first phase is based off MGS1, with the static camera and with Ocelot's moves being based on Liquid Snakes, such as basic grabs, counters, blocks, and the flip counter move from the Liquid Snake fight, with a remix of the song Encounter from MGS1 playing in the background, which is what you're listening to now. The second phase of the fight represents Sons of Liberty, where the difficulty is slightly increased, the camera now is more free-flowing to allow you to see Ocelot more easily, and with Ocelot now fighting like Solomon Snake, except much more enjoyable. The music also changed to the Tanker Alert theme from MGS2. Then there's the third phase, which is based off Snake Eater. The camera is much free-flowing and has a much more complex movements. Ocelot now fights like a cross between Major Ocelot and the boss, as he will sidestep and duck to block your attacks, and will block and counter them much more frequently with his own CQC. And the music changes that again, this time to Snake Eater, the main theme of MGS3. All of this action, all of this atmosphere, all of this emotion and satisfaction, all of this culminates in the fourth and final phase, based on Guns of the Patriots. Both Snake and Ocelot are completely drained and are on their last legs, having used up most of their energy in the fight, yet they muster up their last ounce of strength to deliver the final blow to their opponent. The fight now becomes a battle of endurance, seeing as you must land blow after blow on Ocelot before he can punch you. Every single punch in this segment is cinematically done, and due to the emotional music, Old Snake, playing in the background, it can be almost agonizing to watch. Yet once you land that final blow on Liquid Ocelot, this fantastic fight, and with it, Metal Gear Solid 4 and the Metal Gear Solid series, comes to a tremendous and cinematic conclusion. I'm a Nintendo kid, and not only is Liquid Ocelot my favorite Metal Gear Solid boss, he is also one of my favorite final bosses ever.
I am owning you, you fat, bald bastard!